This is a 2021 Porsche 718 Boxster T, a proper, no-compromise sports car with 2 seats and a ragtop roof. And the T very well may be the best version of the 718 for the road, as it doesn't veer too far from the base price, yet adds sharpness to the feel of the drive. And you still get all the creature comforts you need. My name is Robin Warner, an experienced engineer and magazine editor, and my new favorite letter of the alphabet is T. The Boxster T is on the lower end of 4 trims, above the base model, but beneath the S and GTS 4.0 Boxsters. That means you get some driving enhancement bits, which I'll describe later, but forego the turbocharged 2.5-liter flat 4 of the S model with 350 horsepower, or the 4-liter flat 6 of the GTS 4.0 model with 394 horsepower. But hey, you get to roll on beautiful 20-inch wheels and still need less than 5 seconds to reach 60 miles an hour from rest. That's right, powering this right-size 2-seater is a turbocharged 2-liter horizontally opposed 4-cylinder engine that produces a peak 300 horsepower and 280 pound-feet of torque. Nice. That power then goes through a 6-speed manual transmission and onto the rear wheels. And yes, I said manual transmission, and the villagers rejoice. The base price for the 2021 718 Boxster T is $72,350, and my test car costs $78,380. For those that are interested, I included detailed specifications including dimensions, fuel economy, and options in the description. All right, let's take a look around the car. Here it is, the 2021 Porsche 718 Boxster T. And this one is in Guards Red, which is a beautiful red paint. Because it's a T, you're not rolling on 18-inch wheels, but on 20-inch wheels with a titanium finish. They are gorgeous and look like that. You also get agate gray side view mirror covers and lettering across the side, and there's your proof. It is a 718 Boxster T. And then just in general, you get the fantastic lines of the Boxster to look at all throughout. But it's actually a slightly different, more aggressive look because this car is 0.8 of an inch lower to the ground than standard 718 Boxsters, and that's part of the Porsche sports suspension. In back, you've got beautiful lines continuing. You also get gloss black and very real dual exhaust tips, and gloss black when they're not dirty. But hey, how can you have one of these things and not want to drive it, right? So this car has a mid-engine, which means the engine's not in the front or in the back, it's in between, and that also means that there's not an easy way to pop the engine and show you. But the advantage to that is you do actually have 2 trunks, one in back and a second one in front. But there's actually a third thing to open up, which of course is a convertible top, and there I think the beautiful lines of this car get accentuated even further. So let's do that right now. Yeah, let's just take that in for a moment, right? Just great classic sports car lines here. Really have a hard time finding something I don't like about the look of this car, especially with the slightly more aggressive stance with the lower suspension. And now with the top down, you get some look at some interior details, which I really like the 718 embossed into the headrest and the contrast stitching and the Guards red door handle loops right there. Now those things are actually part of the 718T interior package, which is an option on this car. But this particular car doesn't actually have very many options. The only other things it has is navigation system with Porsche Connect, a smart entry system, exit entry, and then the larger gas tank. So it has a 16.9 gallon gas tank instead of a 14.2 gallon gas tank, which, you know, there's a slight weight penalty, but you get a decent chunk of extra range as a result. But with this car in the sun and the beautiful headlights and the aggressive lines and these cool features down low, the lower black horizontal slats, integrated little front spoiler here, just a lot of beautiful detail, and of course this means a lot of good as well. So let's take a look inside. Actually, before we go inside, let me show you the trunks real quick. So here's your front trunk, or frunk if you wish. Good for a couple of carry-on size bags, nothing huge here. And then you also have, this is a windshield washer fluid, things like that. And then in back, you have somewhat closer access to the engine. The engine is in between this rear trunk and the back of the passenger compartment, you know, your two seats. So you've got oil right there, and looks like coolant. So these are your plastic, plus, you know, another carry-on bag or two. This is shallower, but you have a larger opening here. So the two kind of trade off depth for ease of access. So yeah, it's kind of a non-issue one way or the other. All right, now let's look inside. We don't even have to open the door to show you the most important part of this interior and almost of this car, and that is the 6-speed manual transmission. Yes, we get to row our own here, and I am so happy about that. There's a nice little 718 detail right there. You'll notice that the gear pattern is in red. That is courtesy of being a 718T, and I think that when you're in such a pure sports car like this, you got to go all the way and have the manual transmission, especially when this is a car that you're using for the road primarily. If you were to get one of these as a track car, maybe there's an argument to go PDK, but in these circumstances, with it being something for the road mainly, got to go manual in my opinion. All right, hopping in, you have standard on the T models, deeper bolsters, both lower and upper, in Sport Seat Plus seats. Those come standard with the 718T, as does this GT steering wheel with the Sport Chrono package, which means you have 4 drive modes instead of 2. You've got normal, sport, sport plus, and individual. And if you had the PDK, that means you would also have launch control. But, you know, you just heard my little speech on that. There is your instrument cluster. You have a real speedometer, a real and big and centered tachometer, and then this third one is a small screen that actually has a lot going on. Here's a nice little chronograph for you right there, and then that small digital in the center, that is your time. And then here's your center console screen with a whole myriad of buttons, and some more buttons to play with down here. Let me get it started for you. Le Mans start, keys on the left. It is a 4-cylinder, but it is a beautiful sound, is it not? And let's go right to these buttons here. You saw me put the convertible top down. That's these buttons right here. You have adjustable shocks, so you can have, you know, stiffer and not as stiff shocks right here. Stability control on and off, that kind of stuff. This is a fun one. This actually brings the spoiler lip up and down. Hold that down, and you've got your spoiler raised. Hold it down again, and it's lowered again, and you can actually set that to be part of your driving modes right here. And then this is louder or quieter exhaust. Believe it or not, this is the quieter of the two. Always go loud, always loud. I mean, listen, we're just idling along here, right? And then obviously this is auto stop on or off. Up here, you know, your more typical controls here. Do you get heated seats? That's nice. And then, you know, nothing too out of normal here with the center console screen, touchscreen. Here's one thing that my younger brother and videographer loves to point out: these splendid, amazing, super awesome, perfected cup holders that just pop out right of the glove box. You could make an argument either way about whether you need to prove on such a system, but I'm just going to leave it at that. With the top up, obviously there's no sunroof, but that is okay. And typical controls up here. Typical controls over here as well. Power windows, power mirrors. Here's your loop. You don't have a door handle, you get these little straps, and that saves just a little bit of weight, and they look cool as well. Down here, that's where you get your front and rear trunk openings, and nice Boxster T for you to remember what car you have on entry. I wanted to take a moment to show you. So you have 4 driving modes. One of those driving modes is individual. You don't set that up over here. You set that up in here. So this is your controls right here. I don't know if I can easily, yeah, here it is. This is your control here. If you look at it right here, it says menu and return and then those things. So you go to here, you can go to menu and go to settings and then go to individual. And individual, you can see that Sport and Sport Plus, that's like engine tune. I like having the normal engine. I want it to be as slow and as linear as possible. But then I turned off the auto stop start. I turned on the Sport chassis, so that's the stiffer of the 2 damper settings. The louder exhaust, of course. The spoiler is always up for me in the individual setting. So those are the settings you can tune for the individual mode. And when I turn it to individual, you notice that the dampers, the spoiler, the exhaust, and all these light up to show you that they're now in the sportier settings. So that's kind of cool. But this is fun to be able to play with all these settings. All this is really doing is getting me super excited to take it for a drive. So let's go for a drive. Hi everybody. Well, here it is. I am behind the wheel of a 2021 Porsche 718 Boxster T. And I am very happy about it because this thing is just so good for a driving car. It has all the things that real driving enthusiasts look for. Great feel, great looks, good power, good response, all the things. And the fact that it is a T is kind of what turns everything up just the littlest bit to make it that much better. So what does T mean? Well, basically, it is just a sharpening up of all the driving bits. You get a new tune of the dampers. You get the PASM sport suspension, the Porsche Active Suspension Management sport suspension, I believe it's called, and you get shorter springs with that. So this car actually rides 0.8 inches lower to the ground, as I mentioned already in the walk around. You also get a torque vectoring limited slip differential, and that is a mechanically limited slip differential. It doesn't use brakes. You also get this GT wheel, you get the Sport Chrono package, and you get more bolstering in the seats to hold you in place better. Every change is just a little bit more driver focused, makes the car just a little bit sharper, and just adds just more of a direct feel between you and the road. While you don't get more power, you still have that 300 horsepower 2-liter turbocharged flat 4, you do get a good amount of power. 300 horsepower, that's a solid number, and 280 pound-feet of torque. And don't forget, that's 280 pound-feet of torque between 1,950 RPM and 4,500 RPM. So a nice, broad torque range. Plus, this thing only weighs just a little over 3,000 pounds. So you're still right around the 10-to-1 weight to power ratio. And you do get a louder amount of power because this comes standard with the Sport exhaust system, which first of all is louder, and loud is good, and second of all it's adjustable. So I have a button right here to make it just a little bit louder, which always loud, don't forget. And it is a 4-cylinder engine, a turbocharged 4, but it's a very good sounding turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. And yes, we have a manual transmission, so we don't have launch control, but we have a manual transmission, so we have full control of everything all the time when it comes to shifting, because we do the shifting. I love that. I miss manual transmissions. there's just a novelty to it almost, even though it is decisively old technology that is sadly becoming harder and harder to find. The good news is that it is in the Boxster, and it is very good in the Boxster. One other thing about the T is that you get a shorter throw 6-speed manual transmission compared to a standard Boxster. So that also feels a little bit sportier. And a good weight to power ratio and a nice broad torque band means, yes, that this car is not slow, and it sounds darn decent while not being slow, and I'm slowing down because I want to show you, and I'm doing all this. There's no computers helping me here. That is my right foot doing the revving. And here we go. Oh, God. Oh. Even though this car is the base engine and it is the 6-speed manual transmission, which is the slower of the two transmissions offered, 0 to 60 is still less than 5 seconds, 4.9 seconds. Yes, if you got the PDK, you'd get an extra gear and launch control, and that goes down to 4.5 seconds, Porsche claims. And yes, I will admit that I would feel better about those clutches holding up to multiple launch controls than this clutch holding up to too many launch controls, hard launches. But who cares? That sounds so good, and I'm in control of it, and I just absolutely love it. And this is a 4-cylinder engine we're talking about, but what a great sounding 4-cylinder engine. It's healthy, it's racy, it's raspy, it's loud, it's aggressive. It just really ticks a lot of boxes for me. And it is a turbocharged engine, but we still get 7,500 RPM out of it before it starts hitting against the rev limiter. That's mighty good. I'm very happy with that. In the purest of purity, you would go naturally aspirated with your engine, but as turbo motors go, Porsche just builds some fantastic power plants, and I can't do anything other than applaud them for it. Now, while acceleration is good, acceleration is very good and a lot of fun, it is far from the best part of this car. I just love the way it handles and the way it feels as it handles so well. And it starts with this fantastic steering. It's weighted perfectly, it's precise, you get some feel of the road coming through even though it's an electric power assisted wheel. Then you've got excellent body control from the chassis. The shorter springs get you a little bit closer to the ground, and then the retuned dampers keep things nice and firm. On my individual setting, which I just turned it to now, I get even sharper feel because the dampers really tighten up control. With those sport tuned dampers, you've got excellent front to rear chassis balance. It will understeer, the front end will break loose first, but only just, and you can absolutely adjust the attitude of this car with left foot braking or with some heavy throttle on exit of the corner. All of it is just predictable and easy to feel and easy to read, and that makes all of it so enjoyable. It's not stressful to go fast in this car, it's fun. And that's what is so crucially good about Porsches, is not the capability of the car, but the enjoyment of the car reaching those capabilities. Thinking of all that, what does that T really stand for? Well, to me, it stands for Titan, because Porsche took the standard 718 Boxster, already a great little sports car, and just tightened everything up just a little bit to make it that much better, that much sharper, that much more engaging, that much more driver enthusiast focused. And yeah, this is not cheap. No Porsche is cheap. But in the grand scheme of things, under $80,000 for this car as tested is not that bad. You can get yourself up to 80 grand in your family SUV awfully quickly these days. So maybe just get a used SUV and consider one of these instead, right? Because when it comes to driver enthusiast fun, this is hard to beat. Now, If you want to take something out and have a track toy, that's a different story. That might be just a different car review. But for no frills, no nonsense, pure driving enjoyment car, 718 Boxster T is just right there at the top. I'm Robin Warner. Thank you for watching. And if you are still watching, I'd really appreciate it if you like this video and subscribe to my channel. Those types of things really help me out a lot. Okay, goodbye. This one is in Guards Red, and that means that it is a paint color. That doesn't mean anything.